Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Chatter. The test series is all done. India and New Zealand all over and done with very early on. Day number 4, India far too good in the second test match after a draw in Kanpur. New Zealand and India in this test match. India posting 325 for 10 all out there. Ajaz Patel, brilliant figures of 10 to 119. Mayank with 150. New Zealand in response bundled out for 62. Ashwin was 4 for 8. And India declaring their second innings 276 for 7 declared. New Zealand bowled out for 167 in their second innings. 372 runs, India's largest victory by terms of runs in any test match, and an absolute demolition of New Zealand. Simon Doull with you on Cricbuzz Chatter. Dinesh Karthik is with us from Thiruvananthapuram. DK, afternoon to you. Huge win for India. Not surprising, I suppose, from the point of view of where we started this morning, just 5 wickets required. And Ravi Ashwin, another Player of the Series award. I think that's number 9 now for Ash. How are you? How's Trivandrum? And what did you make of it all?
I think Ravi Ashwin finds it easier to get a man of the series than you find it to pronounce Thiruvananthapuram. But yeah, it was a fabulous, it was a good series. I think at all points of time, New Zealand tried to keep fighting, but definitely India, the better team in home conditions, very hard to beat. And yet another example as to why this Indian team is a formidable team and is just going from strength to strength in a bilateral and more so in home conditions. They're in many ways very, very hard to beat. Nobody has tested them for a long, long time. And thanks to a couple of bowlers, and most importantly, this one off spinner has gone on to receive 9 man of the series, just 2 behind Muralidharan, who's played twice the amount of series that he has played, though. Ravichandran Ashwin. He's a revelation. We spoke about him being spoken in the same breath as Mr. Kapil Dev. He was different in the sense that he was a fast bowling all-rounder, but this guy, Ravi Ashwin, he's an off-spinning all-rounder, gets runs when it matters, bats with a lot of intent every time he looks to bat. But the beauty of him picking up wickets and just picking it up like an absolute joke, the number of times he's picked up 50-plus wickets, the number of times he's been the highest wicket taker in the world in a calendar year, I think the accolades just keep pouring in, and he just doesn't have enough space in his cupboard to keep all those accolades that keep coming his way.
They deserve it as well. I mean, I look at Ashwin, and I've said it a few times over the last little while. Just celebrate what is a great cricket player, a great bowler. Yes, he adds with the bat, but you just need to celebrate how good this guy really is, and how many test matches he wins for India, how many test series he wins for India, and 9 man of the series in 80 test matches is a phenomenal achievement. Now, if he was to play as many test matches as Anil Kumble, what is he? I think he's 52 away from playing as many as Anil Kumble. He would surpass Anil's wicket-taking record. I don't think he's going to, because he's, to mean he's probably got to play till he's 40. So I don't think he's going to, but he will go past Kapil Dev shortly. And it's just a phenomenal achievement as far as I'm concerned. And what he does, yes, in home conditions, but also what he's learnt to do away over the last 3, 4, 5 years, what he's actually learnt to do away from home as well has been phenomenal. And he adds those 5 test centuries to his numbers. To me, he is an absolute great. He is a great of our game. He'll be great of Indian cricket, and he'll probably end up in the commentary box alongside you and me at some stage as well. He's a real lover of the game. He's got a passion for it, and he's a student of the game as well, DK. And I think, when you look back at careers, everybody tries to pick holes. People try to find reasons and pick holes in someone's career. Just celebrate greatness. That's all I say. I just celebrate greatness when it turns up, because it's not here for long, and it'll be gone sooner than you think. And then you'll be thinking to yourself, I wonder where the next Ashwin's coming from. I don't like the fact that sometimes we don't celebrate greatness enough.
I think it is a human tendency. I think we always, when somebody comes new on the scene, we always egg them up, and then we start slowly picking them one by one, trying to figure out their flaws. I think there's a certain devious sort of pleasure we get in trying to see the fallacies of other people over a period of time. That's a very human being tendency, and I can understand that. And he's gone on to achieve various fabulous things over a period of time. So, he's a phenomenally great test cricketer, a legend by all means. Arguably one of India's greatest cricketers to have been playing now, and I only have good things to say about him. And I think he's done great things for Indian cricket. And along with him, quietly bowling from the other end, somebody who's impressed is all, who's had the debutant season of the year by a distance this year in terms of performance, in terms of grabbing an opportunity. Akshar Patel, as his real name, but gone on to call Aksar Patel these days. He's had a fabulous 5 test matches in India.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, hasn't he? 11.86 bowling average, 36 wickets for Akshar Patel. And runs to boot. He's shown in this test match, I think in this test series as well, that he too has the ability with the bat. He's pushing, the selectors to say, I can compete with Ravi Jadeja. If you want another left arm option, I can certainly compete with him. Perhaps not at the level with the bat as a Jadeja is, but with the ball, you cannot fault what he's done in the early part of his career. And he's also, again, maybe not quite in Jadeja's class, but he's also a gun in the field. So, look, I think India are very, dare I say it, privileged at the moment to have 3 quality spinners who can all bat, 2 of which are very, very good in the field.
Absolutely. I think India are very blessed. And let's not forget there's a few other spinners who are waiting in the wings as well. Like today, the way Jayant Yadav came and grabbed his opportunity. There are a couple of others who have done well in domestic cricket. Chalat Saxena, Gautam, all these boys all pushing for a spot. Obviously, not all going to hold on to their places or be part of the Indian team, but there's a lot of competition. And at the same time, there's a lot of class there as well. But these 3 tend to stand out at this point of time. Ashwin at the top of the ladder, Jadeja and Akshar to follow. And that's a very, very healthy spin attack. And Indian cricket spin health is in great place right now. I think they have match winners. They have people who can bat as well. And most importantly, they can contribute in the field if you need them to. So I think India, when it comes to spin, which has been their strength over a period of time, have been fabulous yet again, and have found 3 solid spinners. The challenge is when they go abroad, whether these spinners will be able to provide the breakthroughs that the Indian team needs at times when the fast bowlers are taking a break is the biggest question here. But having said that, now moving on from bowling to batting, what have you made of this batting unit? And most importantly, a couple of people under, obviously, scrutiny, so to say. Let's start with the Pujara. What did you make of him so far?
Well, I think when you look through this test match, apart from Mayank Agarwal, there was a lot of scores of 30, 40, 50, 60. So Agarwal was the exception when you look through the scoreboard. But, in the first inning. But those scores of 47, 47, 36, 41 not out for Akshar, and 62 for Mayank Agarwal in the second inning, that tells me a story that there was one that was going to have your name on it at some stage on this sort of surface. It wasn't easy. Has Pujara done enough, scoring 47? The one question that I guess is asked now, and I'd be interested in your thoughts around it, Rohit's coming back. KL is coming back. Do they look at Mayank to 3? Do they look at Hanuma Vihari to 3 because he's already in South Africa? They've sent him there really to try and get used to the conditions. Or does Pujara keep his spot at 3? I'm looking at it thinking he's gone a lot of innings now, and the most by any Indian number 3 without a test match 100. Are they prepared to stick with him? Or are they prepared to maybe take one of those other openers or Hanuma Vihari and put him at number 3 for this South African series? Because what I want and what I would expect is you want your best players of quick bowling. That's what you need in South Africa because that's what they're going to produce. Yes, they have Keshav Maharaj, but I think you want your best players of quick bowling. Is he still in your top 4 or 5 of players of quick bowling or not? Your opinion on that?
I think for a start, I think this whole group of Rohit, KL, Mayank Agarwal will be the 3 openers, followed by Pujara, Virat Kohli, Rahane, Shreyas Iyer, and Shubman Gill will be the batters. I don't know what is going to happen to Vihari. I mean, ideally, he should have been part of the squad. It's sad that he had to go and play for India, whether they're going to fit him back when he comes back in, because everybody who's played here have done, enough and more to hold on to their places. Shubman has got a 50, a couple of 45s. Let's not undervalue the 40s and 30s batters get. That means they're getting set. So as part of the process, what we need to understand is till the time they're batting, are they looking solid? Do they look like they can get runs for India? And is that right? Yes, I think in their case, they look solid. They've looked like they can get runs on tough wickets. Kanpur and Bombay were not easy wickets to bat on. They did apply themselves, played a lot of good shots and got themselves set before they got out for various reasons. So where does a Vihari fit in is an important question now. Has Shreyas Iyer come and done enough to take over a Vihari's place? Obviously, another man there who's obviously hanging on by by very, very minute wall. I mean, by the skin of the teeth is Rahane again. So what are they going to do? He's obviously the vice captain.
Yeah.
He's done phenomenally well as a captain as well. So where does he stand in the scheme of things? But knowing Rahul Dravid, I think he'll go the tried and tested method. He'll go the Pujara and Rahane to start with, and then as things unfold, you'll obviously allow it to unravel and then make the changes necessary. But I do think all these guys will be on the plane to South Africa and very much in the playing 11 as well. I don't see any major changes. Yes, there could be the one odd change, but I don't see too many changes happening. It'll be very interesting to see if Shreyas Iyer fits in as well.
Yeah, they're allowed to take 20, so they're going to throw most of these guys on the plane. It's been announced now they're allowed to take 20 people. So I just look at it, DK, and I look at my Air Points program loyalty card. The points run out eventually. Eventually they run out. And Achika Rahane, 29 innings with an average. The last 29 innings, the average is 24 in Test match cricket. Now, there's been a lot of very, very good players in the Indian setup who've been dropped for less than that. For averaging more than that. And I look at it now and I think, look, he's a champion human being, a lovely guy, one of the nicest guys. He's part of the leadership group. He's captained the side. I know all of these things, but at some stage, my loyalty points, they run out and I can't use my card anymore, and that's the key to it. So do they take a new vice captain? Is Rohit a vice captain? Is KL a vice captain for the South African tour? And does that give them then the license to maybe leave Ajinkya Rahane out of the Test match lineup? Look, it may happen. I think he's going to be on the plane because I think he's a valuable member of this squad and a valuable member of this Indian setup. But I just wonder whether he plays that first Test match after the form he's been in and the form he's shown. To me, I'm probably not selecting him, and that may sound really harsh, but 29 innings, averaging 24 in his last 29 innings, is a fairly good sample size. It's not like I'm saying he's played 5 or 6 innings. So, as I say, great bloke, not having nothing to do with him as a human being, but it's a good sample size as a cricketer. And those numbers just at the moment, with what is there and what is available, just don't stack up for me. So I'm saying on the plane, but I think he's probably throwing more balls down than he is hitting them in the net, to be honest with you. So that's where I would say, look, I mean, this Test series has thrown up some great performances. I guess when you look back to the first Test in Kanpur, you look at this Test in Mumbai, and none more so than Ajaz Patel. And again, as I said with Ashwin, I talk about with Ashwin, just look at the performances rather than the overall result of the Test match. And you've got to look at this performance of Ajaz Patel and say it is phenomenal. The most wickets by anyone ever in a Test match against India, 14, surpassing Turian Botham, who did that at the Wankhede Stadium as well. This is just an incredible effort from a New Zealand spinner to turn up in India and take 10 wickets in the first innings, 4 in the second, and 14 in total. Celebrate it. We need to celebrate these milestones in this wonderful game that we love. This has happened twice before and now only 3 times. So we've got to celebrate this and make sure this is, an achievement that is worth celebrating, DK, surely.
Oh, 100%. Just his demeanor, just him as a personality. I saw the interview with Ashwin as well. Brilliant. I think he's a great guy, very hardworking. He's gone through the grind, obviously migrating from India to New Zealand and then obviously doing the hard yards with his father, so on and so forth. But most importantly, we have to understand in Kanpur, the bowlers who did the damage for New Zealand in a big way were the fast bowlers. The spinners didn't contribute much at all. So obviously coming into this test in Wankhede, again, they would have obviously hoped the medium pacers will deliver again because this wicket is known to aid fast bowlers as much as it aids spinners. Whereas in Kanpur, everybody knows that spinners can only get wickets. If you take a domestic game there, it's only the spinners ruling the roost there consistently. It's only early in the morning when there's a bit of dew and haze that the fast bowlers get wickets. But when you come to Bombay, there's bounce in the wicket, there's a bit of carry, there's a bit of lateral movement a lot of the times, and hence the fast bowlers come into play. But Ajaz Patel, I think, took it upon himself to deliver the goods, bowl long spells, bowl brilliant spells where he was able to stitch together maiden after maiden, which put the pressure on the batters. At the same time, any mistake that the batters made, I think Ajaz Patel was there on top of them to pounce on them and make sure they paid for it. And it's not like he got random Joes out. These are good players of spin who obviously have played spin all through their life. To come and pick up all 10 wickets is a phenomenal achievement, and go on to pick 4 in the second innings, brilliant as well. So you can see that he has a good head on his shoulders. He knows what to do when the ball is turning. He's aware of his skills, aware of his most importantly, what I liked about him was I think he is aware of his weaknesses as well, areas which he knows that he probably is not strong in. He accepts it and keeps bowling in the areas that he's strong in, which is great to see. And I'm sure he has a good future with New Zealand when it comes to spin bowling.
Yeah, look, I mean, a bloke who won't be remembered massively for this Test series, but has had an incredible career from a New Zealand point of view too. This is another situation where I think don't look at Ross Taylor and think this was the Ross Taylor. The Ross Taylor we loved in New Zealand has had an incredible career. This is not the Ross Taylor we love and know. 11, 2, 1, and 6, and it just didn't look great. I know when you're looking on, it didn't look great, but think of Ross Taylor's career. He has been an incredible player across a long, long period of time for New Zealand, possibly his last overseas Test match. This one, I think he'll get the 2 Test matches against Bangladesh. New Zealand cricket should, and I hope they do, if he decides to retire. And that's a big if. It's up to Ross Taylor. He deserves to go out on his own terms. But he deserves a big send-off, and it needs to be a fanfare because he's been an incredible player for New Zealand for a long period of time. Just, your thoughts around Ross Taylor and I guess, not looking at this Test series, but as a player that you've seen, played against and played alongside.
For a start, I think there are 2 Ross Taylors. They're split personalities. Ross Taylor, the T20 batter who came in at about 2007, 2008 and set. I must admit that when RCB had some good players in Virat Kohli, Rahul Dravid, and all of them at that stage. But I remember the crowd vividly shouting Ross Taylor. Taylor. That was a kind of impact he had at that stage for RCB. He was a great guy to be with. I played with him quite a bit. A lovely human being. I think he had his obviously time as a captain, and he's gone on to be one of those big players for New Zealand over a period of time. You got to speak about him in the same vein as a Martin Crowe, Brendan McCullum, Kane Williamson, and then comes Ross Taylor. They're right there in the mix. I think he's done phenomenally well. He's 250 against Australia. In Australia, what a knock that was. I think there are many knocks. I think most importantly, the way he has been a senior person for New Zealand and taken New Zealand team to greater heights through thick and thin. I think, obviously a lot of their credit in white ball cricket and the fact that in multi-nation tournaments they've done well. Ross Taylor has been at the heart of it, and it's good to see him, obviously, as the elder statesman there. I'm sure he'll get the send-off he deserves, and whenever he wants to do it. I think, obviously, in New Zealand, he can obviously commands that respect where he decides to go when he decides to go. So, all the very best to him. Yes, this series wasn't his best series, and I think he'll personally admit that, but that's okay. There have been many players, and there will be many players who will come to India, fail pretty miserably, go back and have a fabulous summer in their backyard. So I'm sure Ross Taylor can go on to achieve that when he goes back to New Zealand.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. And I hope if he does decide to retire from Test match cricket, then he gets that send off that he deserves. Looking at this World Test Championship, DK, and the points that are on offer, do things need to change a little bit around the fact that should there be more points for making a team follow on? Should there be more points for a win at home? For a win away, and less points for a win at home? Should beating a top-ranked side be worth more than beating a bottom-ranked side? Have they got this right? Is it still a work in progress? And do we need to sort of just let it settle in for another term, another round, and then figure out along the way what works and what doesn't? Because I like the fact that there is real emphasis on Test match cricket again. I love that fact, and I love the fact there is a World Test Championship final to be played. I'm not sure the point system is spot on just yet, and whether we need more points for an away win than we do for a home win. All of those little things. I mean, where do you sit on that subject at the moment, and how do you see the World Test Championship working, and do you think the players are really buying into it?
I think for a start, you and I were both part of the World Test Championship final when you called out saying that good people don't always finish last. So, I was very much there. So we had this chat then as well. I think for a start, obviously, this is not the right way to do it, but there is no right way to do it right now because the schedule that has been put, the FTP as they call it, the Future Tours program that the ICC has designed for the last 5 years, has already been set. So it's almost set in stone as to which team will be playing which team for the next 3-4 years. So with that being the case, it's very, very hard to make all of those changes wherein if India plays a Bangladesh, they get X amount of points. Whereas if India beats a New Zealand in New Zealand, they get an X plus certain amount of points because they've beaten, somebody who's higher ranked in their home etc., etc. There are very many conditions. If you tell me the test between Sri Lanka and West Indies, Sri Lanka gets the same points as an England will get if England beats Australia, that is unfair. In an Ashes series, that is unfair for sure. But how do you regulate this? How do you get this going? At this point of time, it is very, very hard. The only way to do it is if you make all the test matches a 3-test series and, kind of give the same amount of points. This was something that Kumar Sangakkara had spoken about, how to make every series a 3-test series. Even if Ashes is a 5-test series, just count the first 3 tests and give points accordingly, etc., etc. But even that is a bit of a there's a certain gray area to that, because if Bangladesh beats Sri Lanka, they can't get the same points as when an India beats Australia in Australia. Obviously it just doesn't add up. So there is no extra points whether you win away or whether you win at home. I think these things again are a work in progress. ICC are definitely having a look, and they need to have a deep look at it, because the World Test Championship has brought Test match cricket back on the map a bit. I think people are watching. They realize that there is something to play for, which makes it a little more interesting. But is this the final deal? Have they got it absolutely bang on? No, not even close. But it is a work in progress. It will get better. I think they need to find a system where they either create a top tier, bottom tier, something along those lines, to find out what's the best way to get this going. At this point of time, it's more a case of the more tests you win, the better chances you get. So I think for this test cycle, that's how it's going to be. But I think for the next test cycle, there will be a few changes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think it's brought some light back into Test match cricket, and I love the fact that it's there. And it's not just because New Zealand won the first one; it's because it's given some real relevance to everyone playing Test match cricket. So yeah, and everyone wants a trip to Lords as well. I think it's that's a great incentive, and the money and the mace and all the things that go with it. DK, India were dominant in this second Test match. For mine, it was they were relatively dominant at times in the first Test match as well, but New Zealand held on for a draw. Going to South Africa, I don't think that there has been a better time for an Indian team to tour South Africa. So for me, as we look forward just a little bit to a few weeks' time, can India win in South Africa? Can they win that Test series? Because I firmly believe they can. I think they've got the side as we look forward. I think they've got the side to beat South Africa in South Africa, and I think South Africa are a little bit vulnerable.
100%, absolutely, Doull. I think this is their best chance to take on a South Africa in their home conditions and probably go on to win it, and win it pretty comfortably. And I say that because India has a potent fast bowling lineup. We have a very, very good batting lineup as well. On the other hand, South Africa has a very good bowling lineup, especially the fast bowlers in Nokia, Rabada, Juan Pretorius, and the likes. But when it comes to their batting, they're pretty vulnerable. They're pretty dependent on one or two players to fire, and the rest of them kind of don't have as much experience or the wherewithals to handle a high quality bowling lineup like India. So I definitely would have my money on India in a big way at this stage. They have the skill. It's a question of whether on a certain day when things don't go their way, they're able to still hold on to the pressure and then absorb pressure and then trap it back to them. So at this point of time, I do feel India holds the aces when they go to South Africa. They have a well-rounded team. They're high on confidence, and another bilateral. Obviously, India is known to do really well over a period of time consistently. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Indian batting shapes up against that South African bowling. That's the big deal. If India can find a way to stitch big partnerships and get a couple of hundreds every time somebody goes out to bat, I think India will be well on their way to doing something that they did pretty phenomenally well in Australia.
Yeah. Well, all that to look forward to in the coming weeks, that's for sure. India touring South Africa, Test matches to play for. Been dominant, India, taking the points and the spoils over New Zealand in this Test series. Thanks so much for joining us on Cricbuzz Chatter. DK, thank you to you, mate. Good luck for the domestic series as well that you are about to take part in. I hope that goes well. It's been great having you with us on Cricbuzz Chatter. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for your time. Make sure you check out everything on Cricbuzz. Enjoy the cricket, and look forward to that South African series next up.